And like last week, shall we go around and introduce ourselves?
Sounds like a good plan, David. My name's Michael Brown. I'm at DCRA. I manage the Residential Permitting Center.
And I'm David Merrick. I am a design build contractor working in Montgomery County and DC. And I do most of the plans for our company. So getting things right the first time is an important thing for me. And I'm also the chairman of Government Affairs Committee for the pro organization of Metro DC.
And then I'm going to throw it to Amber next, who is our guest of honor today. And so Amber, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm sure. My name is Amber Sturdivant. I'm the branch chief here at the Department of Energy and Environment, the Less Safe and Healthy Housing Division. Happy to be here. Let me know if you have any questions, or also joining me is one of my colleagues, Mr. Terence Henry, but I'll let him speak for himself.
Yes, afternoon. Okay. This is Terence Henry with the Department of Energy and Environment, that Compliance and Enforcement branch. I conduct inspections, review permits, anything lead related up there.
So going across the top of my screen, Catherine Dixon, you're next.
Hi, I am Catherine Dixon with Rebuilding Together.
People were watching closely.
Catherine Dixon with Rebuilding Together DC Alexandria, and we provide home remediation and community revitalization in low-income homes and low-income neighborhoods for free.
Okay. And Ellen Whitmore, is it Ellen?
Yes, it's Ellen. I'm with Case Design Remodeling. I supervise our architectural designers. So my team of 5 people gets most of the permits that we get with DC, although some of our interiors people get theirs as well.
Okay. Javier, how about you next?
Good afternoon. Yes, Javier Valdivieso here with Balaton Builders. We do construction and remodeling in Washington, D.C.
Okay. John Paulus?
Hey, how we doing? I'm John Paulus, General Manager of Quality Window and Door. We are a window and door supplier / contractor. We do everything from wood clad to vinyl to aluminum to commercial, residential, the whole deal.
Good.
Thanks for having us. I do want to let you guys know we're having our own in-store sales meeting shortly. So I'm setting this up to record because I have a couple people on my team that really wanted to see it. I'm generally here to record, so I'm not going to be able to chime in a whole lot, but I really do appreciate you guys doing this for us.
Okay. Michael is also recording the meeting, right, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin.
Kevin Gilligan. I'm with Gilligan Contracting. We're an interior modeling firm in Northern Virginia and DC.
Very good. And Doug Horrigan, I saw you a minute ago, but where'd your picture go? There you are.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm with BOA. We're a remodeler and custom home builder around the area.
Okay. Leslie.
Hey, I'm with Finesse Design Remodeling. We do design and remodeling in DC.
Okay. And Paul Cho.
Hi, I don't know if you guys can hear me. My name is Paul Cho. I am a project manager here at Exterior Medics. We do work in Washington, D.C.
Very good. And Tony, did I call on you yet? No, I don't think so. Tony Colabro?
Yeah, it's Tony. My name is Tony. I'm one of the other project managers over at Exterior Medics.
Okay, good. So, Amber, I hope that gives you a good idea of who is here. And, you know, all of us are remodeling contractors and we're focused on renovation as opposed to abatement projects. So Amber and Michael and I had a discussion earlier, you know, just to fill in on that little bit. But Amber, would you like to start off with just a brief description? Well, before you do that, I have a goal for this program that we're putting together, and Michael shares this goal with me, that we want to get our projects through plan review on the first time. So we want to understand from DOEE, what is it they're looking for about lead paint when we submit an application for a bathroom or a kitchen or an addition or a substantial renovation in a project in DC. How can we clear the DOE lead review part of this by providing the correct information with our first submission? So,
Pay attention.
all right, Amber.
Well, again, thank you, Michael, for inviting me to this meeting to begin with. I really appreciate it. And
Amber, we've lost you.
So Amber's going to get herself back. One of the things that does help when we have a lot of people on a WebEx conversation is if we all turn off our screens, that'll oftentimes help the meeting to go smoother. So if we go dark, that might help as well.
Okay.
Amber, you want to give it another try?
all right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. Whew.
But now we don't.
Oh, you still don't hear me?
Well, I hear you when you ask, do we hear you?
Huh.
I heard that.
Okay, now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Amber, we hear you when you ask if we can hear you, but then we don't hear anything else.
Okay. Hmm.
I hear you humming. Say something.
Hmm.
Amber, we hear you say the Say something.
But you don't hear me talking now.
I hear you talking now. We hear you talking now. Keep talking.
Oh, goodness. Okay, again, I'm Amber Sturdivant, the Lead Compliance and Enforcement Branch Chief here at the Department of Energy and the Environment. Happy to be here today. Did you hear?
Boy, we got through the introduction and then you went dead again.
I could try to call in instead of using WebEx.
Okay, I can hear you talking about calling in.
Let's try this. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, goodness. Okay. The DCRA, and with the
Hey, Amber, you're coming in and out. Why don't you hang up and just call in on the phone? And let's see, we'll take, a few minutes to give you time to do that, okay?
yeah, I'll try it that way. Okay, hold tight. I'll be back. In the meantime, Mr.
Okay,
Terence
thanks.
Henry is on the phone.
Okay, we'll talk about you while he talks to us. Hey, Terrence, you want to pick up the mantle and talk for a few minutes?
Sure, not a problem.
HGC?
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. So I kind of got a gist of what the meeting is about, and you guys pretty much want to know what it is that we're looking for in order for us to make a determination if a permit is required or not. And of course, in order for us to do that, you guys are contractors, so we haven't been getting a lot of contractors. We've been getting a lot of architects. So first, we need the contractor. We need the scope of work. If there's a signed contract, proposal, or anything like that that kind of identifies the square footage, the existing painted components that will be addressed or renovated with this project, that's what we need to see. That pretty much helps us understand. And then the occupancy. So if you have a property that's not registered vacant, and the key here is being registered vacant in DCRA system. If the property is not registered vacant, as of right now, what we are doing is we're taking in some properties or some cases, some reviews where the property may be unoccupied. It was purchased, let's say 6 months ago, and it has remained unoccupied all up until this point when the building permit has to be issued. In a situation like that, the permit may not be required, but of course, just as you asked, what is it we need? We would need that information to kind of make that determination on what's needed. Square foot, scope of work, pictures of components painted that are existing there that will be renovated, removed, paint stabilized, whatever be the case.
Terrence, can you tell us exactly what is the name of this permit that would be required?
Well, okay. So what I'm seeing is that on the reviews that we get from DCRA, they're going to be kind of steer you guys onto the renovation side. All right. And the reason why we do that is because a lot of you guys have the EPA certification for an RRP contractor or that individual that may do that work. So we kind of keep you guys on that side because you're doing something as far as component removal a lot of times that qualifies for a renovation permit. It can also qualify for a lead abatement permit. However, what we're understanding and seeing is that a lot of times when we tell you guys an abatement permit is needed because you may be doing an encapsulation or another abatement method, you guys don't have the certification from DOEE to do so, or the supervisor work, or whatever be the case, insurance to do so. So what we're trying to do with our reviews is understanding that a majority of folks know about EPA's RRP certification. They already have that cert, and if you have that cert, then we can work with you on the renovation side of our lead permitting.
So is that actually a separate permit from our building permit? Or let's say we're EPA certified, the firm is, we've got a renovator there, we give you pictures and it's kind of minor work. It's more than the 2 square feet though, but we're going to follow lead safe work practices. Do we just need our building permit, or is there another permit that's required?
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, I mean, once we get that review in Project Docs, we'll look at the specs that you provided. That's what we're talking about right here, as far as what we need so we can make that determination. As long as that information that I discussed earlier is provided to us beforehand, we'll already have that. We'll take a look at it, and we'll be letting you know pretty much in real time if a permit is required or not. And that would be a separate permit from the DCRA building permit.
So I just got a permit for a bathroom and I provided all this information and you told me, okay, you're good to go. I didn't need to pull any additional permit.
Okay, so okay, let me make sure I'm clear in understanding what you're saying. You're saying you got the permit from who? DCRA or DOE?
DCRA.
All right,
I didn't have to get anything from DOEE.
So what should have happened is that we got that review and we determined in Project Docs your project does not need a permit, and as long as we put that information in Project Docs, you will not have to fill out any notifications or permit on our side. Once we have determined that a permit is not needed in Project Docs, whether or not you have completed our notification form, if you do it in Project Docs first, you're done. Once we say you don't need a permit.
So can you help us understand where that line is between letting the building permit process through and requiring a renovation permit. What else would need to be there to trigger the need for that renovation permit?
All right, so what if you're doing a renovation activity, which is like I said, a lot of times, look at the reviews that we get from you guys. You're doing a component removal, which falls under our lead renovation activity, or activities, right? So if you're doing a component removal, if you're doing wet scraping, um, repairing the trim, that's on the renovation side. However, you would have to be disturbing at least 500 square feet of surface, of painted surface, or there's an or the cost of this renovation activity is 20,000, and with that 20,000 is only speaking to the lead portion of the project. So if you're doing any type of demolition, that's when, let's say the job is 40,000, but then yet you say it's 20,000 you should do demolition, then then out of that 40, we're only looking at the 20.
Okay, so I'm writing this down. So if I'm disturbing 500 square feet or more of lead painted surfaces, or I'm doing something that has a value of $20,000 or more related to the demolition of that lead paint, not the total cost of the kitchen or the bathroom, just the cost of demolition.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so before we move on, anybody else got any questions or need any clarifications on this? Because to me, this was an important thing to understand. Questions?
I just want to confirm that we would just put everything into project docs and you guys will advise us if we need another permit, correct?
Right. So once you've uploaded whatever you have in Project Docs, we get an alert to review what you've uploaded there. What we'll do a lot of times is we'll let you know if a permit is required or we need additional information. We'll include our email address. Please, if you're going to respond, do not just upload the information to Project Docs. That's DCRA system. We're asking, and that's why we're putting our email addresses in these comments for you to get back to us. We do not get another alert that you have updated Project Docs. So what we don't want is that you've uploaded that information, feeling that you've answered the comments. However, you haven't emailed us directly.
Okay, now I'm confused again. Should we be uploading all of this information initially into Project Docs? And when they go through their review cycle, do you review in Project Docs? Or do you totally not see what's in Project Docs?
And so we see what's in Project Docs. What I'm saying to you is that when you upload whatever information, we get an alert. Okay, we get an alert to review your case. Whatever is there, if you've included the things that I mentioned at the top of this conversation, it is very helpful in us making a determination the next time we respond to you if a permit is required or not. What's happening is that you guys are uploading based on what DCRA requirements are, and then not knowing that there's a lead component, you guys get you run into a hurdle right there, and then we're asking you for a bunch of the same things that I just asked you for at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is something very friendly, that if you don't have the information, you're giving us the email address and saying, send us this information, we'll take a look at it, and you will work all this out while the review cycle is going place.
Exactly.
And then you can approve it on the first go around, even though we've done some back and forth.
We as of right now, from my understanding, we're not approving anything. We're not putting on any conditions or approving unless we have received some type of information that gives us an understanding of what the project is entailing. So there may be at least one or two going back and forth. But the thing is that if you upload all that information the first time, you may get asked the question of someone may pick the phone up and give you a call. But by the time we're getting back to you officially again, we should be able to provide to you whether or not a permit is required. So you should not have to be going back and forth 3, 4, 5 times. You shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Amber, do you have anything you want to add? Terence has been very helpful while we were getting you connected. I'm guessing you're there.
Yes, I'm back now. I'm slowly realizing that the WebEx app doesn't work very well at my job. So I am here, and I know you can hear me. I'm on the phone. So thank you, Terrence, for chiming in. And no, everything he said was spot on. And I agree. If we had everything uploaded the first time during the first cycle review, things would go so much smoother. And I also like the idea that we talked about earlier this week with having a checklist of items to make sure that all those applicable items are uploaded the first time, so there's not as much back and forth, time-consuming emails and phone calls that are going on right now.
Yeah. So just to fill everybody in our conversation earlier, we talked about this, and Michael and I have talked about developing a checklist that's comprehensive for all aspects of the DCRA review cycle, but in particular for lead paint. We talked about providing this information. So that initial upload that you do, you would provide your EPA firm certification number and also your EPR renovator license number. And it would be a good idea to put his expiration date on there so that you're proving that it's still current. So you're telling DCRA you're registered EPA firm, and this is the guy who's going to be in charge of it. Then they want a work description. So you should identify, what I'm hearing is you want a narrative of this, just describing what you're going to be doing, and then analyzing the surfaces that are in there and either testing them or assuming that they contain lead paint. And if you test them and they turn up negative, then you can share that information with them. And if everything in your project tests negative, then they'll clear you. Putting pictures with the application will show them, give them a better idea. I include pictures on all the plans that I do, just to help everybody understand it. But we should locate where the lead paint surfaces are, the condition that they're in, and what we are proposing to do to them. We should also talk about the containment measures that are going to take place when we're working with the lead paint. And I don't know that you guys are particularly concerned with this, but I'm concerned with the air quality during that whole period. And a lot of us have a machine called a build clean machine, and it just sits on the floor. It's a dual stage HEPA filter. It's got a sensor for dust, and as soon as dust is in the air, it sucks it out right through the HEPA filter so that our workers are in a nice, clean environment, but it keeps the dust from ever getting onto a surface to settle. So when we use that, we're going to make sure to mention that. And then something that I'm really unclear about is the cleaning verification that we've been taught in LLRP. When we're renovating a bathroom and we tear all the walls in, how are we supposed to do a cleaning verification on framing materials, exposed 2x4 studs, the underside of joists? But does that sound like a good description of what you're looking for in this first submission?
Is this after the completion of the activity? Is this clean form or that you're speaking of?
No, this is our first submission to Project Docs about what we're doing. We give you all this information in that first submission.
When you say cleaning, I'm not sure what you're speaking of. So that's where I'm yeah.
Okay. In the LLRP program, after you. You're breaking up, Terrence.
Terrence, you're breaking up now. I mean, the clearance verification that they talk about with RRP is quite different than the normal regular clearance examination that we're used to seeing. But the only time you will be required to have one of our clearances, which we would call, using all of our requirements, making sure you go to those areas where work was done. The main thing for you, though, is when it comes to most renovation projects, even under the district lead law, you can wait until right before occupancy to do that clearance examination or do that cleaning verification. Wait till everything is particularly already done. Now, I know some trades like to go ahead and do a pre-clearance in advance to make sure that the other trades coming in are coming into a safe environment. I mean, that's perfectly fine, too.
Okay, anyone got any questions? have we done an incredibly good job in explaining all of this? That everyone fully understands it?
I have a quick question, if you don't mind. It's, I mean, that actually was great, and I really appreciate all the time. This is really helpful. Should this be like a page on the plans or a separate 8.5 by 11 or something along those lines, or is that sort of TBD and we're just sort of figuring this out as we go?
Yeah, I've seen them on plans. I've seen them, any way that you can get them uploaded. But I've definitely seen pictures, scope of work, all of that good stuff that we're looking for on plan. So you can, make another sheet. I guess what we would have to understand is that you would be attaching, all contractors moving forward from this point would be including that with their plans, so that we know to when we're looking in project docs to actually go, straight to the plans to see that stuff.
So if we provided a sample work description for renovation projects, could we review it together and then possibly get it posted on your website as a sample of what you're looking for? And that list that I just read off, I've started to put together such a document. And
sure.
But how about if I, polish this up, send it to Amber and Terence, you guys see what you think about it. That way we can all be submitting this information to you in a uniform manner. And if we have bullet points that we know we've got to address, we're good at that.
Sounds good to me.
And I just want to bring up one more thing. We're talking about the submission, but if you do get awarded a permit, there is, and going back to that RRP cleaning verification. If you're awarded a permit, a renovation permit or an abatement permit, you'll actually have to have a third party conduct a clearance to close that permit out. And it's not what I guess you guys have been taught with RRP. It's we have our protocols for our different permit types, and those protocols would have to be adhered to in order for us to close out the permit. Those protocols would be something like making sure that visually all painting components were intact, dust samples passed, and it includes a spike. I mean a blank sample and some other requirements that we have as far as identification of the company and the individual that's conducting the testing.
Okay, so if we could talk for a minute about when we need a renovation permit and what is required there. Is our LLRP certification good, or do we need DOEE training and certification now?
A renovation permit, you must be certified by DOEE also as a lead renovator firm. So with your RRP certification and 250,000 of coverage, you'll be able to come on our side, fill our application out, submit it, and I think it's $350 for 5 years, and be certified with the district to do lead renovations, pre-78 properties.
Okay, but if we don't need a permit, we don't need to take that step.
Yes, correct. We're not need to take that step.
Okay. So I think this was where one of our members was confusing some of us, telling us that we needed to get this permit. So getting a renovation permit to me sounds like that's a major step in dealing with lead paint, because it's 500 square feet of paint that we're disturbing, or 20,000 of demolition costs. And I don't know how often that volume of paint arrives in most of our projects.
Right.
We're gutting out the entire inside of a house, and the whole thing was painted with lead paint.
Right.
Some of you that do whole, bigger projects like Doug, have you had to get renovation permits? How have you?
No, we test all our houses with XRF, and I've only seen one house that had a lot of painted walls. That was in Chevy Chase, and almost everything, it's just a very limited amount of trim, way under 500 square feet. And we take all the care in the world getting that out of there, but that's how we handle it all.
Can I just weigh in? We've gotten probably 24 permits in the last year in DC, and we've developed a kind of a lead activity letter that we include with our project doc submissions. We, in that time, last year, had to do just one of these lead renovation permits. 500 square feet is not like floor area. That's all of the surfaces combined. So if you're clearing out a room, it's the walls, the ceiling, the trim, everything. So you can get up to 500 square feet fairly quickly if you're doing a lot of demolition. But we've only had to do this one time so far.
Mm-hmm. Alan, can you share that with us, that letter? Because that's essentially what I'm trying to put together for all of us to use.
If Amber likes it, yes, you can have it.
Absolutely.
I mean, so far we've developed it after answering a lot of questions. When Shane was asking us a lot of questions, we were trying to, develop it so that we didn't go through more than one review. And everybody over there at DOEE has been so helpful. Yeah, I have that. How do you want to share it? You want me to email it to you?
Yeah, if you could email it to me.
Okay. All right. Sure thing.
All right. Thank you.
And I did answer one question in the chat. Someone did ask about how long does it take to get a lead permit approved. The key is to make sure that you submit an approved complete renovation lead abatement permit application. A complete application gives us everything the first time, your clean hands certificate, your certifications, your training, your signed scope of work contract proposal, your insurance, copy of your basic business license from DCRA. We got to make sure that your DCRA registration is still current, and on and on and on. As long as we have everything the first time and you submit it to us at least 7 days prior to the work, we can get it out the door really quickly. The majority of the permit applications that we receive, it may be one or two things missing. And so then you start moving forward with time. So it may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, it may be longer than that, depending on how long it takes for somebody to respond to us. So the application goes through one of my inspectors to review. Once they approve it, it comes to me for a final review, and then I issue the permit. If you apply online, which we want everybody to apply online, become users of our QuickBase system and apply online. Once it's approved, I will upload it right back to the lead application. The lead application that's online in QuickBase. And once you log in as a user, you can review it, you can print it, post it on site as required. We do have a PDF version that I'm trying to get off the website actually, so that everybody will use the online version. But the PDF version won't give you none of that. You have to go old-fashioned and mail in your check or money order, which takes time, or come here in person and give us your check or money order for the permit fee, and then we issue you the permit old-fashioned way that we did prior to the pandemic. I encourage everyone to become users of our online permit system and apply online so that it can go seamless. You can pay online with PayPal. I can issue the permit online. Can't do none of that if you use the PDF version. And if you have any questions about anything that you submit and you're wondering about, can you just hold this, or, is this too old, or what can I do about this? Just let us know. We'll answer all your questions for you and help you out. What seems to be the longest is clean hands. If you come back and your clean hands is not good, then it may take you weeks to get that cleaned up with Office of Tax and Revenue or Employment Office or wherever you got to go. So just be very mindful of that. And there's another question.
This is all happening outside of DCRA and the project docs process. This is totally a DOEE thing. Do you maintain any of the files for this stuff? I heard you ask for clean hands and business license and that. If I came back 2 weeks later, you'd want to see all that again?
Oh, good question. So your certificate of clean hands is good for a year. What we're going to go do is go to the MyTax website, DC Tax and Revenue website, and we're going to validate that certificate to make sure it's still good. I have seen a certificate being issued yesterday, and then we go in and validate it a couple of days later, and all of a sudden you're not clean anymore. It can happen. It all depends on these sister agencies and when they click the button to show that you owe them something. You know, it's nothing that's out of my control. Another thing that we also do internally is I can't issue the permit if you owe any fines to DOE. So I also go look in our enforcement database to see if you owe more than $100 in taxes, fines, and fees. So we do that towards the end because by DC law, we're not supposed to issue a certification, license, or permit unless you have clean hands. And there was a question in the chat, is there someone to contact if the permit application is taking too long? Okay, yeah, please contact me. Contact me directly. I want to know, because I need to know why you had to wait from April 6th to May 24th. I need to know who it was assigned to and what happened. I need to know where did you send this stuff to, if they were sent on April 6th, and I need to talk to that specific inspector. So let me know, and I'm going to give you my email address.
Okay, and if anyone, you know, runs into problems that they think might happen in the future, if you let me know, I'm sure we're going to try to develop a section of our website where we can collect information like this that's, you know, focused on the particular jurisdictions and agencies that we're working with to try to help our members out.
Right, and just to clarify one thing, you will have to submit another, unless we change that in-house, but you will definitely have to submit another certificate. I think that was the question that was asked. Will you have to submit this? How long do you keep the information? We have it on file. It's just that as part of our requirements are that you have to submit this stuff every time you are, you know, submitting that information. But we are working on that currently right now. And also when it goes,
if you have certification, you know, if you've gone through the process of being trained and all that, you're still asking those people to provide all that information every time?
Yes, as of right now, yes, that's what we're doing. I mean, you know, you asked the question, I'm definitely going to answer it for you. So yeah, as of right now, we're doing that, but we're working on eliminating that hopefully in the future. But as of right now, our regs say that that's how it must be submitted. So we're you know, following the regulations. Now, when it comes to the online system platform that we have for submitting your applications, you have to be certified. So as of right now, if you have a job that will require a permit, if no one is here certified, you'll try to go onto the site and you'll meet defeat. You won't be able to submit the application. You'll actually have to register. And in order for you to register, you're going to have to be certified. So you'll have to go in, fill the application out, submit it in, and get approved to be a certified contractor so that we can give you the right, the approval to use the online platform system. If you don't do that, then you can't fill it out online. You'll just have to do it manually.
And when we do get certified, that's good for 5 years.
Correct.
Okay. Would you like to take us to take a vote on whether you should simplify your process for the paperwork required? Or, you know, I hear you guys saying you need to make it simpler. I think we would all vote for yes.
One thing that Terence alluded to, those are the requirements as of right now. One thing I wanted to bring up to everybody was that we've been trying to amend our regulations since 2016. It does take time. It is the government, and it does have to go through a lot of reviews. And so we are planning, if it's approved, to take away some of the paperwork stuff that we already have information on. We already know if you're certified, so you don't necessarily need to give us a copy of that. We already know if your company's certified. You don't really need to give us a copy of that. We are looking into keeping in like a folder for each one of the companies that submit stuff like your liability insurance, your basic business license, to kind of already have that here. The certificate of clean hands, that is a tricky one, although if you got one 2 months ago, even if you submitted the exact same one from 2 months ago, I still got to validate it. So the validation process still remains. Another thing we're looking at with revising our regulations is the possibility of going to one permit instead of two. We have definitely heard all the comments since the regulations have came out back in 2013, some good and some bad about having a renovation and a lead abatement permit. And so I did want to ask the attendees today, what do you think if we only had one permit, a lead activity permit, or what do you think if we continued with two permits, which will be easier for this group? We do want to solicit some type of feedback during this revision process just to get an idea of what you're thinking. You don't necessarily have to speak right now. I just want you to think about it and just let me know your thoughts. And then
Well, it
one
sounds
last
like,
thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, one more thing to the comment from Mr. Henderson in the chat. There are times that I'll tell you personally, whenever I get a bunch of documents to review, I do look at the start date. So if you're not going to start until, let's say, July 15th, I'm going to do the permits that are going to start June 20th or June 21st. I'm going to do those first because their start dates are before yours. So it's a possibility that your permit was ready and could have been issued sooner. It's just that I was literally doing others before yours. So we can talk about that offline if you like.
So in talking about the permits, you mentioned two permits, but really what I'm hearing is there's a third lesser option that follows the LLRP program if we're certified there. And we're doing a minimum amount of work, then you're not going to require any permit. And then you got the renovation permit, and then you've got the abatement permit. And I don't think abatement ever is going to apply to any of the people on this phone call because we just don't work in multifamily or, we're not in abatement kind of situations. But the renovation permit is very definitely something, a line that we're going to cross. And as Ellen pointed out, 500 square feet is, if you got one bedroom that's all painted, then you've crossed that line. The feedback I would give you right away is rely more on the EPA certification and maybe, if all the documentation is provided and it sounds like they got a good work plan, we would rather not have to get another permit from DOEE and would avoid that like the plague.
Hey, let me
That's good feedback.
let me add to that. Okay, so the renovation permit is what we try to push you guys into, but there may be a situation where abatement is applicable. And the reason why abatement would be applicable is because you are disturbing now 450 square feet of walls and ceilings, and that paint is deteriorated. And once that paint is deteriorated, now this no longer qualifies for a renovation permit. You'll have to now go on to the side of abatement because you're below the threshold for the requirement of a renovation permit. So it's just important to just understand, because I've seen projects like that come through where, okay, yeah, they're disturbing 1,000 square feet. It's pretty much, open shut case. But they'll get to 498 and say, well, okay, well, I don't need a permit. And I'm saying, well, what's the condition of the paint? The condition of the paint is deteriorated. There's chip and peeling paint. You're going to need an abatement permit based on what you say you're doing, which is removing that component.
Which is why you want to see pictures.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there may be some instances once a relationship is developed and, there's an understanding and a trust factor there that some inspectors may not need pictures. It's just that, while we're working with the situation, get acclimated and wanting everyone to know and make sure that everyone adheres to the regulations, that we ask for these things up front. We can actually even schedule to come out and do a physical visit just to see it for ourselves. But, we ask for pictures just, kind of streamline that process.
So is there thinking about new processes and procedures? Has anyone else got suggestions? Anyone who's had, maybe some more experience in getting a renovation permit? Ellen, have you got any ideas?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Well, you sound like you have more experience than a lot of us. Have you got any suggestions for DOEE and how to simplify this and, at the same time, give them the information they need without a lot of the, sounds to me like there's a lot of unnecessary paperwork that, one way or another is available to you.
Well, I will say that the letter that we've developed and we use on all of our projects now has been working really well. We get through reviews quickly. We do include pictures and calculations of square footage and all of that. So we're fine with that. The one thing, when we did get the permit, we did get hung up with the clean hands. So I would second what Amber said and just be careful about that. At the last minute, it turned out we owed something somewhere and our clean hands was not clean anymore. So be careful with that. Yeah, and so I think we're following along with the way things are working right now. It seems to be working.
I tell Bruce to pay his parking tickets.
I don't know what it was, to be honest. It was something, not related to DOEE. It was something somewhere else. So we're clean now.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody understands perfectly now what to do, right? So, Michael, if I could ask you a question about how this relates to the DCRA project doc submission, what questions do you ask on behalf of DOEE? Any?
No, we don't.
No.
The application process at DCRA for residential homes is more about whether or not ground is being disturbed. But in terms of,
so it's similar to
no.
So
in
it
our
would be
application.
Ooh.
Sorry, go ahead.
We have a nasty echo back and forth. So it would be similar to the water authority relationship.
Yep.
Correct. And in our application process, if you trigger, in the new application process for residential building permits, when you input your information, you verify the property location, one of the very first alerts you get is that you have to follow the paint processes, and we actually give you information about it at that time and the website.
Okay. All right. This is the last chance for questions. All right. So I'd like to bring up just briefly a discussion about how we move forward with this program. We've got DCRA's attention, and Michael has graciously volunteered to do a meeting every month with us. What would we like to talk about next month? And at some point I want to, oh, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I just wanted to add real quickly. Thank you, DOEE. It was great having you here. We're good partners. We try and figure out how to do things together and do it well. So I really appreciate your efforts. Secondly, Amber shared with me a document for going through a document about these processes. I'm not able to upload it into this meeting chat because DC limits what you can put into things, what you can add in, so you don't have a security breach. But I did forward it to you, David, so you could share it with your membership.
Okay, great. Yeah, and Amber and Terence, thank you very much. You guys have been great and given us a lot of information and really cleared things up.
I'm sorry, I missed. How would we be able to get the document?
You can email me, David Merrick, and I can forward it to you. Debbie and I need to talk about how we can make these resources available on the NARI website. So hopefully we will be developing this into a form that we can all use, like Case is using, as a letter of information to include with your package, with your submission. I'm sorry, we're a little bit loose on that part of our organization at this point. Debbie, can you chime in?
I was a little late. I apologize. I was out collecting goodies for the golf tournament, so I flew in here and got on here as quickly as I could. So I don't know if you all remembered to record this, but we are, if we didn't, we are moving forward, going to record these, and they will be put up on our YouTube channel for the Pro YouTube channel. And then, yes, absolutely, any documents and such that are sent to us, we'll find a place to put them, and then we'll let everyone know how to find them.
Debbie, even without your help, we were able to remember to tape
All right.
it. So
Good job.
you
I
have
got a
this
little Post-it
recorded,
note here.
and once that recording comes to me, once that recording comes to me, I'll forward it to you and David.
Perfect. And then we'll get that out to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So now back to my question about moving forward. Has anyone got any topics or, areas of confusion at DCRA, or even tips that, through our experience we'd like to make? But what should we look at in the coming calls that we have each month? And I know one of the topics that I'm saving for later is ADUs, and that might take a couple of months to go through. But what other things would we ask DCRA, or do we want to talk about? And if you're going to remain silent, you can email me or Debbie with your ideas later on. But the goal is to get our applications through the permit review cycle on the first go around. So I've taken all of your names in. We're going to start using the DC contractor system to track our great results. I'm just kidding about that. But, all right. Well, we're at the end of our hour. Thank you all. This has been very good call and very informative. Michael, thank you so much for putting this together for us and continuing to talk to us.
You're welcome. This is everybody. We got the same customer, don't we? We have a customer to satisfy, and we want to satisfy your customers. So we're all in this together.
Yeah. Okay. With that, we shall adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.